It's June 4th, and this is Mike and Bike, the return commute, or the evening commute version, or edition. And I'm listening to This American Life again, and they're talking about do-gooders. They're talking about the aftermath of right now they're talking about the aftermath of the Rwandan genocide. And how the genocidaires, or the Hutu leaders who had led a lot of the genocide, had orchestrated the large mass exodus from Rwanda and the refugee camps in Zaire, which became Congo, which basically duped the world into providing humanitarian assistance just to help them maintain their power. Creating violence in the camps, continuing to attack Rwanda. Definitely a good example of how the road to hell can be paved with good intentions. Yeah, it's the whole problems in Central Africa and the war and ongoing wars in Congo and stuff, certainly being a major horror of the last several decades. And it's just a tragedy at how little the world wants to hear about it, do anything about it, or even understand it. And then when they do get involved, as they're discussing on the show right now, they make things worse. Very frustrating. I was not that impressed with the movie Hotel Rwanda, though. I thought that was pretty hollow. Don't really understand why it got all the attention it did, other than that it was a movie about a very tragic situation. I just didn't think the movie was that well done. Go. Let's see if any cars are going to try to hit me this time. Hello. Never taken that trail off to the side there. That's a new path they built in the old railroad bed here. Hello. As much as I think it's a tragedy what's been happening in Central Africa, I also think it's too simple just to blame Europe or the West for all the problems that go on there. I think that can become all too easy. Blame all the problems on Leopold from Belgium and his brutal rule of that region, or the British or the French. Not saying that it was all great by any stretch, or to justify any of the... Hello. I certainly don't want to justify any of the terrible things the colonial regimes did. But I think it can often be more of an excuse for not doing things, just to blame it on somebody else. Just like in the US, you can have people feeling that there needs to be reparations for the harms done under slavery and so on. I don't know how productive that is, to want vengeance. Well, not even vengeance, but redress. If you focus on that, even if you get it, I think it kind of poisons your life. I think of Germans that were forcibly removed from their ancestral homes in Eastern Europe after World War II. And there were groups of these people who started committees and associations asking for compensation for their property. And after the fall of communism, it got even ramped up more with those groups trying to find some way to get their old homes back, properties back. And I just don't think it was helpful. I mean, a lot of the people living in those homes have been themselves displaced from their regions. You have people in Poland living in people in Poland living in homes that used to be for Germans, but those Polish people were deported from their homes in what became Ukraine, or who knows. This is how far back do you go? Everybody's got a gripe or a grievance they can hold. Which actually even makes me think of a show I watched recently. I watched an episode of The Fifth Estate. The Fifth Estate is a Canadian news program, and they were talking about, or going over, what's happened to some prominent whistleblowers that they've had on their show. And in most of these cases, the people really suffered a lot from their whistleblowing. And clearly it has become a crusade for these people. That's become their life, is to rail against the organizations that wronged the country and them. And I just wonder, I mean, is that healthy for these people, these whistleblowers? Likely not. It becomes the definition of who you are. Somebody playing with their dog. I suppose there can being a whistleblower can be an identity somebody might want or embrace. I look at Edward Snowden, who disclosed practices of the NSA and is exiled in Russia, and I can't help but think this is something he wanted. I have the distinct impression that he likes this identity of being a whistleblower. Certainly has brought him fame of the like that few people ever truly attain, and even praise. I mean, Snowden isn't exactly reviled by everybody in the world. He's viewed as a hero by many. So, was it worth it? Guess we'll have to ask him 40 years from now.
It was never a goal of mine. My goal wasn't, hey, I want to be.
We'll have to ask Mr. Snowden of 2050 whether he thinks his life was fulfilled. And there was that gentleman who leaked the Pentagon Papers back in the 70s. At least he never had to go into exile. That has a lot to do with the changes in government and attitudes towards whistleblowers. I think we're much more severe than we used to be. They never even tried making prosecutions for the Pentagon paper leaks, or dropped it. I suppose I have more in common with the mentality of whistleblowers than not, though. I find it really hard to just sit silently when things go on that oughtn't. Which hasn't really helped my career all the time, to be honest. Not that there have been terrible illegal activities and such going on, but I always have found it a challenge to keep my mouth shut when I see things going on with my employers that I think really are not in the interests of the company, and so on. And that isn't always welcome. I don't think it's all because of bad people and conspiracies. I've grown out of that kind of thinking. Most people are worried about their little things, their responsibilities and jobs. Something might make perfect sense for the furtherance of their career, which might not make sense for the interests of the organization or group in total. So who am I to complain about that? And sometimes people legitimately think they're doing the right thing. I might not think so, but then who am I to come and say that's not right? I can definitely say I've worked at companies where there were plans we had for products and developing things that there was a lot of solid evidence the market wouldn't want, that in the end turned out to be poor business decisions. But I honestly believe that in some of these cases of the things I was involved with, the people involved honestly believed they were doing the right thing, and would even raise arguments about how you can't just follow public opinion and so on. And they were taking a courageous stand, wanting to be bold and brave and change the world, which are all commendable things. But if you end up building something no one wants to buy or use, then what was the good of it? So you can certainly have legitimate disagreements on these kind of things, but when you're right involved in it, it's hard not to take them personally. I can feel vindicated seeing what happened to the products in the end, but my intransigence in the process certainly didn't do me any favors. I was right. But what is life if we don't have learning experiences? Definitely seems to be more people out this afternoon than yesterday. I guess it just needs the sun. A few clouds in the sky and people go away. I noticed a Nissan Leaf and a Toyota Prius go by there. The Leafs seem somewhat interesting to me. Having an electric vehicle, that would be nice. They're still kind of pricey, even with the tax breaks you get. You can get pretty good lease deals, I suppose, these days. I've heard on those. You still got that range problem. But it's something like 70 or 80 miles range per charge, the Leaf. And then you have to have a charger installed in your home so you can charge it quickly, like 240 volt or something. The standard home outlets won't be able to charge it, completely recharge your car in a single night. Too slow. There were fast chargers everywhere in all the parking lots and so on. Wherever you went, it wouldn't be a big deal. Just plug your car in while you're at work or at the store. But alas, that isn't the case. The Priuses, that's the hybrid kind of technology. I don't know. I've never been so enthralled with that. I think I'd rather just get in fact I have a compact car that gets good mileage rather than mess with batteries. I really wonder how long these batteries can last in these vehicles. Pretty expensive to replace. Okay. Building here is, I gather, it's some kind of rest home for the elderly. They totally renovated it about a year ago, and that little waterfall in front of the building, it freezes up when we have our rare cold snaps in the winter. I had some nice pictures of the waterfall frozen this winter. Of course, when it's freezing, it's usually clear. There's no rain or snow. You get the coldest temperatures in the winter when there's no precipitation, not a cloud in the sky. Lego summer camps. Interesting. There's a sign for that. My daughter was in a Lego robotics club at school this year. She enjoyed that a lot. Looks like we have some Buddhist monks on the sidewalk up ahead. think a number of the homes in this area are inhabited by monks. Yeah, you'll frequently see monks going for walks along the street in our area, in our neighborhood. I think this group or this temple is based from a group of Taiwanese people. I don't know how segregated these Buddhist congregations are by factionalism. So I don't know if there's lots of other groups of Chinese who attend or if it's all just Taiwanese. I have no idea. I know in the summer they often have a lot of major events there at this Buddhist temple, and you'll see cars parked all along the streets for a mile around the temple here. And I've certainly gotten used to the smell of incense when I drive by. So I'll let you get a look at the temple. There's the temple, and get a good view of it. I think that whole cul-de-sac is reserved for temple use. I think they own all of the buildings there. It's kind of like dormitories, I guess, all those houses. There's some cyclists. It's the easy part of the trek going down the hill. You're gonna have to pedal a little harder coming back though. More people walking dogs. We don't have any pets. Sometimes our kids wish we did, but I'm likely the biggest opponent to the idea in the house. Just wind up with lots of hair around. They require your attention, care of them. I guess I cared for so many animals growing up on a farm. Really don't have a huge desire for more. We had some fish, though, which unfortunately died. I also don't like the idea of keeping dogs cooped up in your house all day when you go out, when you're at work, or the kids are at school. I just feel it's kind of cruel. When we were on the farm, the dogs frankly never came in. They were always outside. Had their own little dog house and just go run wherever they wanted. I guess I've never really, there's some things in cities I've never really felt comfortable with. Back to identities again. I guess being the farm boy is something that's never gonna, I'm never gonna get over it. It'll always be with me to some extent. Funny how that is. I guess my kids will always be city kids, even if they move to a farm. Thinking about Africa again and unintended consequences. I remember reading stories about how some food donations would result in dropping the prices of agricultural produce in some African countries so much that farmers wouldn't grow anything because they couldn't make money at it. And then, what do you know? There isn't enough food the next season grown by the local farmers to feed everyone. Yep. It's hard to believe you can hurt by trying to help. Heck, there's even the example I remember hearing about after the end of World War II, and they were liberating the prison camps, and they'd come across these people who were almost starved to death, that some of them died because they ate too much. And when you're that malnourished, you really have to be careful on your diet and how much you eat. So, you're trying to help someone who's half starved, give them a big fatty sandwich, and they drop dead.